Hey, welcome back. It is Monday, and that means the great voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, joins us. Charlie Miller's with us as well. Don, how are you, sir?
I'm good, except for the cold symptoms that I have.
Yeah.
I'm good other than that.
Well, the voice still sounds good, man. And I know coming off of, we'll go back to the wind. We haven't spoken to you over Purdue. Everyone, we've heard the call on that. It's so great to hear that again. We had some people complaining about their students rushing the court. Even an old curmudgeon like myself I was like, I don't care. Let them rush the damn court for once. I mean, let them have some fun. Those students have been through hell for the last 6 years. Let them do whatever the hell they want to do. I don't care. I really didn't. It was but it was an electric environment like I thought it would be. The crowd was into it. Every one of them, the players. It was fun. It was Assembly Hall of the old days, and it was a hell of a night.
It was. There's no question about that. A really fun night for everybody that was involved from an Indiana perspective. Obviously, not so much for Purdue fans, but Indiana broke a 9-game losing skid. It had to happen. If it doesn't happen, when is it going to happen? And to knock off the number 4 ranked team in the country, just a huge feather in Indiana's cap. And without question, the biggest win of the season. I said yesterday, that's the second time we've said biggest win of the season because Ohio State was a huge win for that program as well. To win those 2 ball games and do it in Assembly Hall is special. There's no question. And everyone wanted to see that happen yesterday. It was Mike Woodson's first Purdue game, so he was able to get his first victory over the Boilermakers in his first try. And to end that 9-game losing skid was obviously the most important factor as far as Hoosier fans are concerned. So, and then the other aspect of it was it put them in great position in the Big Ten Conference at this point in the season. Now, it didn't help things yesterday to get beat by Michigan, but nevertheless, it was a huge win. And I couldn't have been happier for any player on this Indiana basketball team than I was for Rob Phinisee, because Phinisee has had his problems and well-documented issues throughout the last 4 years of his career, the injury struggles that he's had, a really good freshman year that was also marred by injury. But nevertheless, he comes back the next 2 years and things start to slide. His confidence is lost. And he comes back this season, and Mike Woodson's kind of tried to retread him, so to speak, with coming off the bench and what he's been able to do. He's looked more positive here in the last few ball games, and he came back with his best performance of his career against the arch rival in a school that he lived right down the street from in regard to being from McCutcheon, Indiana. So honestly, you had to feel really good about that Purdue win, but that feel-good aspect of it didn't last very long because yesterday they got beat badly by Michigan.
Well, going into it, I was hopeful. I was like, man, I think Indiana can really do this with that confidence. But then afterwards, of course, hindsight's always 2020. If I was a smart a gambler or wager, those guys, I'd like to have sat down and talked to them before the game because they probably would have told me probably not going to be a good game for Indiana. This is a classic trap game. All the stuff Michigan needs this game desperately. Indiana's coming off such an emotional win. All the things that would have gone into a reason that they could have lost yesterday were there. The recipe was set, and they fell right into it. I mean, they're not going to make an excuse for losing a game at home, but the recipe was there, and they fell right into that. The guards did not. It was a different lineup. Trace Jackson was able to play a lot more yesterday, and so they're back to a different type of game where the guards weren't quite as instrumental as they were the day before, but couldn't hit the outside shots, and it just killed Indiana because Michigan they were hitting 3-pointers like layups.
They were. I mean, they played so well yesterday. 11 of 17 from the 3-point line. Indiana's defense against the 3 was awful yesterday. I mean, I don't know how else you describe it. They couldn't stop anybody from getting a 3 off, and those 3s were falling like rain in this matchup with Michigan. So that was a big, significant factor in this contest. I also thought Hunter Dickinson was spectacular yesterday. He played so well in virtually every area passing the basketball. I think he had 4 assists on top of his 25 points. He was efficient shooting the ball, 9 of 12, 3 of 4 from the three-point line. He did everything that you'd want a big guy at 7'1" to do, and show that he is definitely a pro caliber NBA type player if he wants to go at the end of this season. And from my perspective, the biggest disappointment for me is that Indiana was totally unready to play in this basketball game from a mental standpoint. That's the disappointment for me.
Yep.
Mike said he put it on himself at the end of the ball game. He said, "That's my job." He said, "I didn't have him ready." And I agree with that. He didn't have him ready. And I don't know why they weren't ready, because this team has enough of the veterans on it. Even Miller Kopp, who's from Northwestern, he knows this as well as anybody, along with Trace and Rob Fennessy and Xavier Johnson. He's played in big ball games before and had emotional wins and those kinds of things. They all know that you've got to go out and you've got to be ready to play whoever you play against, no matter what time it is or what game it is. And they just weren't ready yesterday. And I don't know why they weren't. And I know coaches putting it on himself, but the players have to put it on themselves as well. I mean, this is not just a coaching staff problem. This is a player problem. And that's to me the most disappointing aspect of this. When they went to Penn State, they knew that was going to be a tough physical game, and they knew they had to be ready for it, and they weren't. And this is another example of that. And I just feel like this ball club sometimes doesn't get it. And we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out the rest of the season. But let me tell you something. This week is as important a week as they have played all season long, because these are 2 winnable games they're about to play. Home to Penn State, on the road at Maryland, a Maryland team that struggled. Penn State's struggling a little bit again. These are 2 winnable games that you better take care of business in, because up after that, maybe in the next 4 games after that, you may not win any of them. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, the Big Ten is everyone's talked about as comparing it to last year, and it's not as tough at the top, but it is as tough, if not tougher, deeper into the conference, because I'm looking down. I'll stop at Minnesota, and that leaves 3 teams at the quote-unquote bottom, but one of those teams is Maryland, who is 10-9. They still have a winning record, but they're second to last, but they have a winning overall record right now. That is how deep the competitiveness of this conference goes. So exactly what you're saying. I agree 1,000%. It's not quite as difficult at the top. Michigan State is not as strong as Illinois and Michigan were last year. Purdue has shown to obviously not be as strong. They're 5-3. They're 2 games back of the conference lead. So it is a hodgepodge. So yeah, every night is a freaking fist fight in this league.
Well, look Maryland gets beat by 19 by Michigan. At Michigan, okay? Then Michigan beats Indiana by 18, and Maryland goes to Illinois and knocks them off. I mean, there's simply no let-up in this league. And Nebraska, you can say, is a let-up game. Well, Indiana had a tough time with Nebraska at Nebraska. Illinois had a tough time with Nebraska at Nebraska. Ohio State did too. Nebraska's going to knock somebody off here shortly, because Trey McGowan's is back and helps them. So there is simply not a game you can take lightly in this league. And if you do, you're going to get beat. And honestly, right now, I'm concerned about this Indiana basketball team's mentality. I really am. Charlie, what do you think?
Charlie, still
I'm
there?
here. Well, yeah, I'm here. Don, you would know better than I do. I mean, I'm a fan from afar. And you're right. You guys are right. You got to be ready to play. I would just want to kind of chime in about that. Whether it's 3 days, 2 days removed from playing, you got to get ready to play. And you got these winnable games. You got to take care of business early, because if not, it's going to be some tough games down the stretch where, again, like Don said, you may not win, and all of a sudden now you're putting yourself in a tough situation, confidence, playing wise, preparation wise, going into the Big Ten tournament. So I said earlier, Don, for me, I think this team needs experience. I don't think it's going to be information that's going to get them better. And I think they got experience on, probably how to respond now, what not to do probably after signature win and such an emotional win against a Purdue, and you come back and be flat against Michigan. I think they have the experience. I think they now have the film to break down the words, the action to put behind it. That's just my take. And, I think they're going to respond from this. But these are two winnable games. We got to take for me, they got to win these next two games.
Yeah.
You got to win these next two games to build that momentum, because playing against the Illinois, type teams are going to be very tough.
That's the absolute truth. And that's why I think this week is a huge week for this basketball team. Not just mentally, but they're going to have to play well. They're going to have to play well in both these games to win. And if they do, and if they pick up these two victories, then you got a little momentum heading into the toughest stretch of the season for your basketball team, because it's Illinois. Northwestern is playing really much better this year. They beat Michigan State. They've given Michigan State the only loss that they've got, and you're playing them at Northwestern. And then you've got Michigan State, who after that, they got like three or four ball games in a row that are really going to be tough. So this is a week that I think is critical for this ball club to position themselves so that they are not getting clobbered here at the end of the season.
Yeah, right now they sit seventh in the standings, dead center, which means they've got to hold serve and then some. So you've got to hold serve at home and yet find a place on the road someplace to pick up a road win or two, especially to add to the resume, which took a little bit of a hit with the losses to Syracuse. The loss to Wisconsin doesn't hurt them, but the fact that they had that opportunity to get that win does. But the win over Purdue is certainly going to help them, but they need some other decent wins to keep adding to that. But with their record, they're heading in that direction.
Well, if you look at Michigan right now. Michigan's an 8-8 basketball, or no, a 9-7 basketball team.
Yeah.
So that's not a marquee win either. Not at this point. Now, maybe it becomes a marquee win later on if Michigan continues on a run here and gets going big time. But you're going to have to beat a Penn State team that isn't a marquee win and a Maryland team that's not a marquee win at this point. And those are going to be critical games down the line in how Indiana is viewed at the end of the season.
Yeah, Charlie, they've got Illinois coming up, like Don said, Maryland in between that. They travel on the road to Maryland, a game that they really need to get because they've only got one road win. Maryland is a team that's very susceptible, but you come back home to take on an Illinois team that is looked at as one of those top three teams, whether or not Kofi's in the lineup, but you expect him to be so. Again, another Big Ten big guy that's coming in that you have to worry about. Now with him, he's not the problem that Hunter Dickinson is, because he's not going to be out hanging out on the perimeter. Right. But man, he can do some damage in the paint.
No question.
Yeah, he keeps the play alive. I mean, old Coach Knight isms, sometimes the team's best shot's a missed shot when you got a guy like him, because he keeps the play alive. So the thing about, to me, when you play teams like Illinois, you got to make sure that you cannot have your defensive rebounding woes. No one is, forget your fast breaks. All five guys got to be below paint, boxing out, making sure that you don't let them get those tip balls that, a 10% shot turns into a 80% shot, point blank putback. Momentum building.
We got to let Don get running here. So is the show going on tonight?
Yes, Austin Render will be sitting in for me tonight because I cannot be there in person. As you know, I'm in quarantine, as they say, at this point. So
under protocols. What's that? What's the official?
Yeah,
what's protocol?
Exactly. I'm in a protocol scenario right now. I think, what was it? Well, one of the guys I talked to this morning said, the only thing positive from yesterday was Don Fischer. Positive. Get it?
That's a good one. Got to give him that, man. That's a good one. Well, Don, buddy, I hope you stay well. Looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday. I hope the rest of your week is good, and stay well, buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. See ya.
Thank you.
Yep.